Hello, and welcome back to the Household of Faith Daily Devotionals videos for Wednesday, July 24th of 2019. This week we're talking about the gift of love, and we are starting with 1 Corinthians chapter 13, or, it's widely known as the love chapter in the Bible. But I'm going to read to you a couple of verses, actually the first verse from 1 Corinthians chapter 13 from the Passion Translation. And it says, "If I were to speak with eloquence in earth's many languages and in the heavenly tongues of angels, and yet I didn't express myself with love, my words would be reduced to the hollow sound of nothing more than a clanging cymbal." We often say, well, I choose this and I choose that, and there are a lot of things that we can choose. And I want to talk about why I choose to love. And I remember when I was young and growing up, and part of my nightly prayer, we used to recite the Lord's Prayer before going to bed, and my mother taught us to add to the end of it a line that says, to help me to love my sisters equally. And growing up, I had 5 sisters. It was all girls in the house. While I was taught to pray this way, I never questioned it. It was just, as far as I was concerned, it was just another part of, the teaching, and the foundation that she laid for us. And I never really thought much about it. But as the years passed, I found that it was not a prayer that God could honor when the person speaking wasn't sincere. Not just that particular prayer, because if I say, well, Lord, help me to love my sisters equally, and I don't mean it, then how can he honor that prayer? And I use this as a basis because we ask the Lord to help us do a lot of things in our prayers, but we don't really mean it. We don't put forth any effort of our own. And it's basically we want God to do it for us, and that's just not going to happen. Over the years, I came to understand that love is a choice, and this is what I came to understand. I chose to love my sisters, and the other people that I encountered over the years. And just as sadly, there were some people I chose not to love. I just simply didn't like them, and I didn't want to like them, and I didn't even try to like them, And people says, well, I love you, but I don't like you. You really can't distinguish between the two, because if you don't love someone, you're not going to do right by them. And to like someone, how can you like someone and you don't love them? It's a contradiction, and it's a worldly thing that we've adopted again. But I was so wrong when I felt like I had a choice to love, because I also chose not to love, and that was just wrong. It was just wrong. It's wrong it's wrong in every level imaginable. Let me just say this. We know that John 3:16 tells us that God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. He gave, and then there's others. There's so many scriptures about God's love, that while I was yet a sinner, he loved me, he died for me, because Jesus died long before I was born. So he died knowing that someday I was going to be born in sin and commit my, sins and errors and mistakes and faux and all of those different things that we choose to call sin. But he did that long before I came along. So he knew that that was going to happen. But let me tell you something. Outside of Paul's letter to the Corinthians, I think John spoke more about love in his epistle and in his gospel. And 1 John chapter 4 is filled with many, many verses that we're going to be using, as well as 1 Corinthians this week. And here's what I came to understand, is that for God is love, and true love comes to us from him alone. He does not tell us that we have the right to pick and choose those we will or will not love. He commands us to love all as he does. And it is a journey that we take, and it really doesn't start with us. It starts with him. So we're going to, spend some time on that as we continue to move forward in the things that God has called us to do, laying the proper foundation. And as I said last week, well, the foundation is laid. Now we begin to build, but what do we build with? We have to build on love. Everything that God does is based upon his love for us. You know, he loves us so much that he lets us choose what we want to do, where we want to spend eternity. And I'm not going to get too much into going over the gifts. We're just going to read through a lot of them. We're going to talk about it as we go. But I wanted to say, just to let you know that I thought I could choose to love, and I was wrong. If you're thinking that you have the right to choose who you want to love and who you don't want to love, and you are a professing Christian, you're a believer in Christ, then you are also wrong, because the word tells us that we don't have a right to make that choice. Okay? But we'll see you tomorrow.